Welcome back to Power Talks. We are in conversation with Mr. MCFARLANE, the UNFPA representative in Nepal. Nepal has achieved 33% seats in the Constituent Assembly for women. India has its first women speaker. These are success stories. But in South Asia, girl child education is still a challenge. How difficult is it to cross the cultural barriers of not sending the girls to school?
I think it's obviously quite difficult because this is an issue that has been discussed over some years now. And the reason it's discussed is because we know that educated girls who stay in education longer, are more likely to have a constructive, productive impact in their communities and their societies. We know that, for example, here in Nepal, almost a fifth of girls aged between 15 and 19 have been pregnant or are pregnant. The risks associated with pregnancy are much higher for those younger girls. So addressing the issue of girls' education is really very, very important and very significant. And I think that not just UNFPA, but actually a number of UN agencies are all working together to see what we can do in that regard. But I think there's a broader question. Girls' education and girls in school is part of the picture, but there's a much deeper discrimination against women. I think it's fantastic that you have achieved 33% representation in the Constituent Assembly. I hope that you'll have equivalent amounts, if not higher, in other mechanisms and structures in Nepal. And I say that not because it's about numbers, but the quality of decision making, empowering women, enables all of us to do so much better in the development tasks that we have ahead. There's also a deep concern that I have about the scope of violence against women, and this is also part of this discrimination against women. There's discrimination against girls in terms of education. We know there's discrimination in terms of women's roles in decision making and in power. And we know that women are the victims of violence against them. And it's very difficult to find accurate data to substantiate that point. But we carried out a survey in 2 districts, and the levels were really, really high. Nearly 3/4 of the women had faced some violence against them. Now, that, from any person's perspective, can't be right.
Which districts were they, the 2 districts?
There were 2 districts. In one district, it was Suket, and it was in Dang. And it was in 2008. And that's not necessarily saying that all districts are the same. And I don't want to give that impression, but I do feel, and I think this is shared by others in government as well, that we do have very high levels of violence against women in a post-conflict situation, but also I think it's something to do with the discrimination and the practices that we have here in Nepal. Very difficult issue to address. Can't be done by somebody like me coming from outside and talking about it. It has to be generated from within Nepali society, and it's great to see lots of women's NGOs or advocacy groups speaking out about this issue. It's great to see the Ministry of Peace and Reconstruction developing a plan for implementing work that will stop the violence against women. But it's going to take a lot of time, it's going to take a lot of patience, and it's going to take a lot of commitment from men. And I think these are things that it's difficult to talk about, it's difficult to accept, but we're here as the UN to try and help understand, plan how to respond, and make people aware of some of these difficult challenges that we face. So I think if we get girls' education right, if we get women's representation right, if we start treating all women with dignity and respect, then we're really going to have a bright future for Nepal.
When you try to access the women population, how difficult is it in societies which are strongly conservative or religious?
It's kind of difficult, but actually the women themselves are often extremely eager and keen to participate. So we have an ally in the women themselves. One of the things that we try to do when we work in conservative societies, and there are many of those around the world, is to enter the dialogue with a sense of respect, enter it without judgment, listen, try to find common ground, And there are examples of in different parts of the world where we have worked with different faiths, where we have worked with different traditions. And I'm confident that if you approach it in the right way, again, this spirit of partnership and openness, willingness to discuss based on evidence, you can always make some changes for the better for all. And it's not about necessarily taking away from existing cultures, but it's about fulfilling all of the possibilities within a culture.
Ian, you touched on a very important subject earlier. For a society to develop, women's freedom and dignity needs to be ensured. But in Nepal and in most part of the world, we see that women are rather subjected to violence, abuse and suppression. Why is it so difficult to raise the issue of gender-based violence?
Number of reasons. I think one reason is women themselves don't feel that they can speak with confidence about what has happened to them because of the environment in which they're living. They're frightened, they might be hurting, it might not be easy to find a way of talking about that. Secondly, I think that we don't often or don't always have the services available to help. So the services provided by the state in terms of counselling, in terms of medical attention. So we need to make sure that those are there too. And thirdly, I think it really is an attitudinal issue. It's a change that is very complicated, deep-rooted, that will take a long time. Unfortunately, it's taking too long to actually address. And I think in that, it's about using the examples where success has been achieved. It's about engaging men as well as women in the process. This is not an issue for women alone. This is an issue we have to talk to men about this. We have to make them feel there is a value in avoiding that kind of practice. And we have to build an environment in the society where we can provide the support that is required to address those needs when they happen, punish them when they do happen, ensure there's access to justice. These are issues that are part and parcel of development but are not necessarily the easiest to do. I think there's no question that we have to do it.
Let us hope that someday we have a society where a woman's identity is respected and their dignity is protected. With this hope, I wish you good luck and goodbye. See you next week, the same time. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being on the show, Ian. And we have a culture on the show where we offer a gift from one of Nepalese handicrafts.
Wow, thank you very much.
This is a lion from Patan and also a symbol of our logo.
It's a symbol of your show, and what does it symbolize in itself?
A lion is for power.